The Securities and Exchange Commission has started what they call the Environmental, Social, and Corporate Governance Rules, and they're going to apply these to oil and the gas industry. Tell us what those are and what the downstream consequences are going to be to consumers when they're imposed.
Well, I'll try and put them in as close to layman's terms as we can. Okay, it is a very, very complex rule, which the SEC is trying to jam through in just a matter of 30 or 60 days. We actually responded with our comments to the SEC yesterday. We filed them, about 70 pages of comments that the U.S. Oil and Gas Association combined with Western Energy Alliance put in our comments. What it is designed in the simplest of terms is to be able to require publicly traded companies to monitor and to report their greenhouse gas emissions, their climate footprint, for example. But problematic is that it's called Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. Scope 1 and Scope 2, the publicly traded companies can get a handle on. If I'm an oil and gas producer, I can somewhat get a handle on what my actual production activities, the impact of that climate footprint would be. The real problem is when you go further down the value chain, and that what falls into Scope 3. Essentially, that is, I need to, as an oil and gas producer, tell you not only what my footprint is, but what my suppliers, my vendors, and the people that I work with, what their footprint is as well. And so I may have, a big company like Halliburton, for example, has 70,000 different vendors that they have to operate with. That can extend from anything from a widget maker to a trucking company to a catering company. And if I don't have the ability to reach that far down into the value chain to tell you what the catering company's footprint is that's servicing my crews out in the middle of the West Desert, Texas, then all of a sudden I become under scrutiny from the SEC, which then puts me under scrutiny from Wall Street. That's the real problematic thing, is essentially, for want of a better word, it is, we have concerns about the Chinese social credit system. This is the Biden White House trying to implement a carbon footprint social credit system, not only for publicly traded companies, but for everybody that they work with. And it's very, very problematic. It extends the reach of government far, far greater than it ever should be.
Yeah, and when those compliance costs goes up, there's no place to do but to share those downstream to the consumer, right?
Exactly. The costs go up, the consumers have to bear the cost, but the other problem also is, what is sort of the corporate reputation? What does that mean that if I can't get complete reporting out of my vendors, then I have to let some of those vendors go, for example? Well, you're just not, I'm under scrutiny from Wall Street, the board will say. So we have to go back in and make sure that everybody we work with is being completely compliant. The farmer who may be producing, ethanol for a plant may not be able to monitor his greenhouse gas emissions, and yet somehow that biofuels refinery is going to have to report on that. Again, it's very, very problematic.